Hey, it's me. How are you doing today? As you can see by the title, I'm going to show how to make this cute Milkmaid crop top that features a sweetheart neckline with a gathered bust and tie straps. Here are some of the tools I've used during this video. Check the description box for more details. Now let's get started with prepping first. Make notches in a pattern, then transit onto all panels. I also stabilize the pieces with interfacing because my fabric is super lightweight. I recommend doing the lining cups as well, which I didn't do because I was being lazy, but now I regret it a little bit. So 2 parallel basting stitches at the top and bottom edge. I used different color thread to do this because I was feeling extra that day. This is how it looks after sewing. Leave it aside for later. Then I change the thread to the color that matches the fabric. Sew all panels together with the right sides facing. Press the seams flat and repeat the same process for the lining. This is how it should look. Now leave it aside for later. So the lining cups with right sides together. Gather the big cup piece until it matches the width of the lining piece. With right side facing, sew it in place with the normal stitch length. Remove the basting stitches and right after you can understitch the lining so it doesn't show when wearing the top. Now repeat the same process for the bottom. Now we're done with this piece and leave it aside. For the tie straps and bow tie string, fold it in half like so and sew it in place. Feel free to iron this first before sewing. Trim the seam allowance short so it's easier to turn it right side out. Turn the straps right side out with any available tool you have and press it flat after that. Sew the strap on the main piece like so and secure it in place with a few back stitches. Place the lining on top of the main piece and sew the top edge, then understitch the lining the same way as before. Sandwich the gathered piece in the main and lining like so. It's best to pin one layer at a time. Feel free to clip at the curve to make it easier to pin it. Then sew all layers together and be sure to take your time when sewing this because you only want to do this in the first try. This is how it looks after sewing and ironing. If you have some visible stitches, remove it. Top stitch along the seam like so. This is how it is looking on both sides. Fold the hem inwards like so, secure both layers with a top stitch. I'm using clips to do this, but sewing pins is also fine to use. Fold the top and bottom edge of the back piece twice, a ½ centimeter, if you don't want to serge the edge. I'm drawing guidelines on the right side of the back piece so I can sew clean lines when shirring this piece. Thread the elastic by hand. I have a more in-depth video if you have never done this before. I will leave the link of the video in the description box. Now simply sew a couple of rows in the back piece. I backstitch at the start and at the end without cutting the thread between the rows. As you can see, I'm also not passing the seam allowance line. Sew the back piece onto the rest of the piece with the right sides together. Serge the seam allowance after that. Secure the bowstring with a couple back stitches. For the finishing touches, secure the seam allowance with hand stitches so that it doesn't show when you're wearing the top. Follow me on Pinterest and tag me on Instagram if you want to share the crop top with me, if you decide to make this as well. See you in the next video. Doei doei!